Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming back to another episode of the Glimmer cast. We've got a full house this evening. We got ZodWriter, Hanz, and Resonant Justice, RJ in the house. How are y'all doing?
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Hello.
Yeah, no, it's I always sound like I was worry about sounding like a cheesy talk show host, which is basically what I am. So bear with me. But yeah, I'm super stoked to have RJ on the channel for the first time.
I know,
so thank
it's
you.
special. I'm finally here. Yay.
Yay! Yeah, no, and I know Hanz has been like wanting to talk Lord of the Rings with you and I, and like get on a panel more with Zod. So I'm glad it could all come together last minute. So yeah, I'm stoked to like jump into the latest Vanity Fair article, talk about some of the posters. But I guess we don't really have to talk about the posters since we know what everyone looks like now, because the posters sort of like were teasers.
Yeah,
Those posters are good.
They were excellent in my opinion.
And the first trailer comes out Sunday, so for the Super Bowl.
That's
exciting stuff.
Great, yes.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, just some like quick thoughts and first impressions, like from this last, few days of the Rings of Power news. Zod, what were your takeaways from it so far?
Well, I got to be honest, I didn't read the article, so I don't really know. I saw the posters and just got kind of amped and excited. But if I'm sure you'll go over the article, but I didn't read it, so I can't really comment there.
We'll get some raw emotional takes from you for sure.
Emotion.
Yeah. But yeah, how about you, RJ? Some quick thoughts about some of the announcements we've gotten so far.
Yeah, for me personally, the article dropped this morning. I was awake. I barely slept, so I was still operating with no sleep. So the moment I got the notification from Vanity Fair, I'm like, oh, time to click on it. I read it. I kind of skim read it a little bit, and I mostly looked at the images, which I'm sure we'll take a look at. For me personally, I like the sound of most of this. There's a couple things in there that are a little iffy to me, just a little bit. Not like I'm like overtly concerned or hate it. It's more so just questions, just questions. I like to ask questions. But overall, reading this article did make me more optimistic for the show. I like what I'm seeing thus far. So.
Yeah, no, I am too. And there are some, takeaways from the article that, leave me with some more questions. And I think that's what is the good thing. Like, it's keeping me interested. It's keeping me, wanting to, see more from this series. But yeah, let me just jump over to Hanz. Some quick impressions on, some of the latest announcements and images we've seen from the show so far.
Well, I don't know. Do you want me to get into the very beginning of the article?
Maybe just like
about Galadriel.
If you have just some high level overview thoughts, and then we could dive in more into the article.
Yeah, that's right. I got some. Okay, so based on because I read the article, I actually read it a few times to make sure that I was interpreting everything correctly.
You actually did the research and read it, yeah.
And yeah, I did. I read it. Like I said, I read it a few times. I think the show's going to be good still. And I don't want anything I'm about to say to make anyone think otherwise. But it's more like a fanfic to me, which isn't a bad thing with Lord of the Rings. I don't think they're going to be following everything as directly as it's written. But that doesn't mean it's going to be bad. I can't say that I'm super disappointed and not looking forward to it still, because I played some of my favorite games I played are Lord of the Ring games that are 100% fanfic, and they're still amazing. So I think it'll be good still, even though it's not going to be going as direct as what's written.
Yeah, no, some quick thoughts from me were that they seem to be compressing the timeline a bit, and maybe shifting when and where certain events happen.
Yes, that was the big standout to me as well.
Yeah, they definitely invented some characters too for the story too. But we can dive right into the article that I have ready to go here. Let me go ahead and change the layout here. So yeah, Amazon's Lord of the Rings series rises inside the Rings of Power. So yeah, just based off of like this headliner image here, this is Galadriel. She's a few thousand years younger than when we first see her in Fellowship. So yeah, like any thoughts on like the actress that they selected, impressions from this shot, like does this scream of Galadriel to you?
I still have to get used to it because when I think of Galadriel, I literally think of Cate Blanchett, so I have to get used to that, But she looks good. I mean, it looks like Galadriel. I mean, I can't complain,
Yeah, totally. Oh, and it looks like Jimbo would like to join us, so I'm going to drop him the link really quick. But yeah, Zod, impressions on the actress that they casted for young Galadriel so far?
Yeah, she looks like a young Galadriel. I mean, I can't argue with it.
For sure. Hanz, any quick thoughts? Just the first impressions on this?
Yeah, I think she does look like a young Galadriel. Just the only thing, and this is me nitpicking big time, so it doesn't really matter. But they should have tried to find a way to make her hair more gold and silver, because that's actually like a huge part of Galadriel.
Maybe that'll happen
her hair
later on, though. Maybe.
Maybe. I think they just didn't think of it. Probably. I don't know if they maybe didn't realize how important like her hair color actually is to Lord of the Rings.
It's gonna be like Solo, where they explained how she got her hair color.
No, because it was like that when she lived in Valinor.
Do you think that it's something that comes with age, like inexperience and being like battle worn and stuff, or no?
No, because like I said, it was in Valinor.
She already had it at this point in her history. So,
but that doesn't mean anything. If she plays the part fine, if she plays the part well, then I'm gonna like her.
There was something else I want to speak to just really quickly. This is something I actually just saw earlier today. This comes from a Twitter account, so I don't know how verifiable it is.
It's not.
But
we got Jimbo in the house. What's up? Good to see you. Welcome to the channel.
But they said that the first 2 episodes will be a 3-hour-long prologue taking place before the show that will narrate the events of the first age before we get into the second age.
Yo, if that's true, I mean, I'll say this: based on this picture here of Galadriel in her armor carrying a sword, I almost want to believe that they are going to be doing something like that, because she did fight before the first age, before the elves traveled the sea to Middle Earth. There's a big battle at that port there, which was called the oh god, what was it called? Elves killed each other. Basically, they had a fight with each other because one group of elves wanted to go after the Silmarils, and the other elves were following the Valor's orders to not leave.
Just so like I can understand a little bit more as someone like really new to this part of the Lord of the Rings lore, like in layman's terms, like what is the significance of this of starting the series in this like time period? Are we missing out on any like crucial events like prior to that, or do you think the series will time jump? Like, what are your thinking?
Here, let's say it does start around the time where there's already a lot of elf fighting elf action going on. It's gonna skip over the part where the giant spider Ungoliant destroyed the 2 trees. I can't think of their names because I'm bad with names, but the giant spider, who's Shelob's mother, bigger than Shelob, ate the trees, basically destroyed them with Morgoth, and that's when they left. Morgoth and Ungoliant left to Middle Earth, which caused the elves, part of the elves, to want to go after Morgoth because he had the Silmarils, and they made a vow to basically destroy anyone in their path until they have the Silmarils. And the Valar didn't want them to go, they fought, which is what I think this would be. Before that, if they talk about the Silmarils at all, which if this is going to take place in the first age, they're going to have to. It's going to talk about Fëanor making them, and it's might touch on the whole 3 hair thing. If you guys remember, Gimli asked for a hair, and she gave him 3. It was very symbolic because Fëanor got the idea to create the Silmarils by seeing Galadriel's hair that almost mirrored the trees of light, and he wanted a strand of her hair to create the Silmarils with, and she said no 3 times. He asked 3 times, she said no, and then Gimli asked for a strand of hair, and she gave him 3. So that was very symbolic in Lord of the Rings.
Jimbo, thanks for joining us. Do you have any initial impressions from the images that we've seen so far of the posters and characters, settings, all that stuff?
Yeah, I'm actually like really excited with what they're doing. I know that they put a lot of money into this franchise and world building, so I know it's definitely going to be well done and the quality is going to be good. But I'm like kind of interested in like what they're going to be doing, because I know like what Hanz was saying, that they're kind of going a little bit like changing some things with the lore. But I'm definitely really excited, and the images look amazing. I like this piece of armor and stuff like that. It looks awesome, and I'm really
Yeah,
hyped
that
to
looks
get some
sick.
more. Really hyped.
I'm kind of surprised they're going to tell anything from the first age. I thought they were staying away from the first age for some reason. And if they start it with the first age, that's going to bring up a lot of compelling things that as a fan, you're just going to want to know more, because the first age is a very interesting storyline. It's ground that has yet to be covered, cinematically in any way. So I don't know. I'm a little bit, lukewarm on the idea of them even starting from that point, if that's true.
Honestly, I hope they do, because that could explain why she's in the ocean, because during a fight, maybe she could have been kicked in or something.
Yeah,
but
I get what you're saying there. Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is potentially a really dumb question. Please note, I only have knowledge of the movies. I've read read parts of the books, not finished some of the books. So my knowledge is limited. This is the question. Is Gandalf, is he alive during this age or no?
yeah, he's alive, but he's not around. And he goes by a different name that starts with an O, I believe. I can't think of it right now. But he's not Gandalf yet, but he's alive.
So he wouldn't be in the show.
Mm-mm.
Right.
No.
He's not important. He's not really an important character at all at this point.
Nope, not at all.
Yeah, I just want to quickly read this intro paragraph because I thought it was pretty interesting. Galadriel's world is a raging sea, far from the wise, ethereal elven queen that Cate Blanchett brought to Peter Jackson's acclaimed films. The Galadriel played by Morfydd Clark in Amazon's upcoming series, The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, is thousands of years younger, as angry and brash as she is clever, and certain that evil is looming closer than anyone realizes. So that alone, is telling me that Galadriel is going to be the star of the show. But is that, a wrong interpretation of that, in your opinion?
No, that was my impression as well. I feel like Galadriel will be probably one of the main characters of the show.
The warrior lead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She's definitely going to be a very significant presence in the show. I mean, it does mention it's going to be juggling multiple storylines and characters, but I think she definitely will be probably the focus next to Elrond. So
yeah,
I agree.
Hanz, you may be able to inform me on some context I'm missing. So as far as I understand, Galadriel's sensing danger as far as in this show. In the writings, she accepts one of the rings of power from who, unbeknownst to her, is Sauron, right? So I'm kind of wondering that, do you think that we will see some sort of extensive sort of struggle between her own self-interest versus the interests of the rest of her people in this show? Would that make sense?
Yeah, it's possible, because Ooh, I could be a little off on this, and that's why we have H bars in the chat. But I think what happens is before she goes to Middle Earth, her brother gets killed, and she wants, basically she wants to go avenge him in Middle Earth because that's where they went. So that description does make sense. I wish they would have. They kind of said she's wise, in a way, in that paragraph, but at this point she's still very wise, and in the second age, she's not young still. She's already grown, a grown woman, when she arrives in Middle Earth. So I'm hoping that they show that she's still very strong and very wise, and they don't make her make those petty mistakes for character development reasons, even though that's how good writing usually is. In this case, her character is that she is already very wise.
I agree, and she's technically pretty much the Cate Blanchett version of the character by then. Pretty much, if you look at second age lore. So
yeah, actually, yeah, I agree with that, because she's already had a lot of teachings and trainings from all the Valor at this point, obviously, because she's not there anymore.
Exactly.
So at this point, when we see her in Lord of the Rings, she's very powerful, and she might not be as powerful during the second age, but she still has a lot.
Yeah, I don't think that was gonna be one thing. I'm like, is she gonna be as powerful and all that she was in the the trilogy that we saw? Well, both trilogies, because she was kind of dope.
Yeah, she is very strong.
One of the things that stood out to me were these adjectives that they used to describe her: angry, brash, and clever. I wouldn't necessarily say that Cate Blanchett's Galadriel wasn't clever, but that's not the first word to describe her. She seems very regal, very ethereal, otherworldly. By the time we are introduced to her in the original films, so I'm thinking to Hans, to your point about character development. You were saying you don't really expect that much because she's already there, as the Galadriel we're familiar with. But I'm seeing that she's probably going to develop into that Galadriel.
Yeah, I think she's definitely going to be angry. I mean, she's fighting to, I think what I mean is, she still has to be wise, essentially, is what I'm saying. She isn't gonna, she's, I don't know how to explain it really. She's just, she's not naive, I don't want them to make her naive, basically.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. Yeah, I can just jump to the next portion of the article. By episode 2, her warning set her adrift, literally and figuratively, until she's struggling for survival on a raft in the storm-swept Sunderling seas, alongside a mortal castaway named Halbrand, who is a new character introduced to the show. Oh, go ahead, Hans.
No, that's the part that's very different.
That's a whole new character, right?
That's a whole new character, and I don't understand why she would be in the seas, because from my knowledge, there's nothing written about her being trapped in a storm and seas. When she goes to Middle Earth,
there's no Halbrand either.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's a big change from how I'm reading it. It sounds like a big change, because the elves, to get to Middle Earth that didn't sail, took a huge ice bridge over, kind of like how our Earth had an ice bridge at one point. They took that over to Middle Earth, and that was a whole years-long journey to do that. So that sentence, I'm confused.
H parts.
Got it. Yeah, I just want to read H. Bart's comment really quick. You watch the whole season, you will see Sauron as Anatar the whole season. Then the end, he will turn into Sauron for the shock finale. But us book fans will see the twist coming. LOL.
Exactly. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yep, 100%.
And William is calling us nerds. Hi, William. Good to see you.
Nerd.
Yeah, the biggest nerd of them all. But yeah, so just so I understand, Halbrand is the new actor who reminded me of Aragorn, right? Like he looked very similar to Aragorn, or is that someone else?
I think that was someone else.
Who am I referring to? I'm trying to find him right now. Yeah, so this actor.
One. No,
Yeah.
it's
that looks like Vigo. Doesn't that look like Vigo?
Oh wait, it is Halbrand.
It is, right?
Yeah, a new character who is a fugitive from his past. Okay, so I also heard that he's a thief, which will probably
a new character they just created out of thin air when we're dealing with Tolkien, where there's literally so many characters. You don't have to create anybody new.
Dedicated to the lore.
Do you think they're making new characters though because they're trying to find like characters for like the audience to feel connected to, and it's like surrogates for the audience?
There's plenty of characters already.
Characters they can kill. I don't know.
Well, I'm gonna justify this making new characters real quick because there's a lot of characters, yes, but they're trying to make this. They keep saying Game of Thrones.
That was gonna be my question.
So
do you think
they want to follow multiple storylines? They want to follow multiple storylines, and they're creating these nobody characters out of thin air, and it's gonna be like we're seeing things from a norm, like a quote normie's point of view of the whole thing, instead of Isildur and kings and princes, and instead of seeing it from only their point of view, we're going to see it from a commoner, basically.
The first mistake.
Jimbo, you had a quick question you wanted to
that was literally what Hanz was bringing up, because I keep saying Game of Thrones. I'm like, well, because of the success of Game of Thrones and how popular and how much money it made and how it led to spin-offs, and there's so much to work with because it's based off books. How much do you think they're going to try to adapt some elements from Game of Thrones and try to push it into this new series that we're getting? Like,
I heard there's no nudity and no sex. That's what I read. I think it was in this article, which is like, thank you. We don't need that in Lord of the Rings.
It doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be Game of Thrones, literally.
That's like,
it should feel higher, like more sophisticated. More.
That's what.
Game of Thrones took a lot of inspiration from Lord of the Rings. You have to remember that the guy that did that owes everything to Tolkien. So
George R. R. Martin.
George R. R. Martin
still hasn't finished his book.
Yeah, he hasn't even finished his story yet.
This final season's been out for such a long time. I honestly forgot what year it was, and he still hasn't been done. He's been working on those books forever. Is he just like
and the final season is different from what he's going to do because they ran out of ideas and just did whatever they wanted to do.
They ran out of the source material. That's what it was. There's no more books, but they had conferences with him to kind of get the general feeling
and judging
it was,
and judging guys on the way the way Game of Thrones ended. Using Game of Thrones as a blueprint of what you should do is probably not a good idea.
No,
Lord of the Rings has its own
in a way.
I think
if they did a series option, they could. But the thing is, what they did wrong with Game of Thrones is when they built up all these storylines. But then when they got down to the final minute in the final season, everything was so rushed. You went from one setting to another in an episode time. They skipped so much. And a lot of it was the budget. The budget, they had to they couldn't make a whole season because there's so much, the Night King and all that stuff. I can't forgetting the Long Night. And then, of course, the Siege of the Capital. So it's like there's so much. It's like that was another thing. I wish they would have fleshed out these storylines more because they totally forgot about so many different characters. Like they completely left a character in Essos that was a pivotal part with Daenerys, and it's like fans were really disappointed. But the overall, the way it's just the story made sense, but the execution was bad, and I think it had to do a lot with the budget and just basically that. I think it had a lot to do with the budget because it costs a lot of money to put in dragons and destroy a whole city and do it all in CGI.
I guess just really quick, I wanted to just jump in. I think it wasn't necessarily trying to have like Amazon's version of Game of Thrones. Again, I have not watched Game of Thrones. I think what they're looking for is a high fantasy series that has that same social impact that continues to, resonate with folks like years after it's ended, and keeps people talking and engaged. Like, I think that was like the effect. And I think one of
the ending, Rhea, I'm sorry, the ending of Game of Thrones nearly canceled Game of Thrones.
We're getting a prequel for it,
true,
right?
yeah.
So I guess like that's their chance to try and like try to backtrack a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, House of the Dragon should be a big hit for them.
It looks
I think
great, and it's
it's also set like in like way
the Targaryen
it's a prequel,
Empire.
Yeah, it's a prequel. So
I'm really excited for that one. The trailer looked amazing, I think. But the question is like, if they're gonna do this age and they're gonna have all these different dragons, like they're gonna have a ton of dragons because the Targaryens, like, it's in the heart of the empire, so obviously you're gonna have a lot of dragons. But like, my thing is, if they're gonna do all that with that type of budget, why couldn't they just use the budget that you're using for the special effects on the final season to flesh out all these different stuff that they kind of just threw away? It's just like, it's kind of mind-boggling that they had so much potential. And then, like, I mean, it was probably like, I don't know if it was the biggest show in the world, but it was one of the biggest and had a huge audience. So I'm just kind of worried about that show in particular as well, with fleshing out storylines and what they're going to do with that. And I hope that they're, with at least for the Lord of the Rings, that there's enough material, which clearly there is, so they shouldn't have any problems with completing storylines and fleshing out a whole project, unlike Game of Thrones, which lacked source material towards the end. So that's pretty much it.
Hanz, you had something that you wanted to say too?
Yeah, a while ago, I could be wrong. I thought I read it somewhere that this show is gonna have keep consistent long episodes, and I think like following different groups, kind of like Game of Thrones did, would make sense, because once Isildur gets introduced in the show, it's not going to be just him there. It's going to be people around him. Maybe he has a friend that travels with him that isn't named in any writing because it just wasn't important. Those are characters that have to be created, basically. If that makes sense.
No, it does. Like, I just scrolled over the excerpt from the article that basically mentions it takes inspiration from the appendices, the additional source material of Lord of the Rings outside of just like the trilogy. So like, to the concerns that y'all were, calling out about the wealth of source material that we have from Tolkien to source from, what makes, these additional characters, necessary to create a series from, like, to what y'all were, what Hanz was like, calling out, there are, some areas that do need to kind of like be filled in and like also made into cinematic, made more cinematic, I guess, and like some stakes to be developed and things like that.
Think about it like history, think about Roman history, for example. When we learn about these like big battles in history and wars, we learn very few names, and we don't know anyone around any of those big names because they weren't important in the story. That's kind of like how this is. There's a lot of big names being named because they're the important ones in the history of Middle Earth. So that's why these characters that they're going to be surrounded with need major roles, because they're with them the entire time. But since there's nothing actually really written about them, they have to be completely new characters, and they have to do a good job with putting them into the Tolkien world.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like, I just highlighted this excerpt as well from the article. Like, the series will juggle 22 stars and multiple storylines, from deep within the dwarf mines of the Misty Mountains to the high politics of the elven kingdom of Lindon and the humans' powerful Atlantis-like island, Numenor. So, yeah, no, like 22, starring characters. We're traveling all over the planet, basically. I forget the name that it's called in the text, but
Arda.
That's the name of Earth. Arda.
That's like, I think that's the like entire continent.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. No. I just wanted to call this out because it seems a little ambitious for just 5 seasons, in my opinion. But what are y'all's thoughts about, us knowing like how many characters we're going to be introduced to, and just like the wealth of, character ambitions and motivations that we're going to be expecting to see outlined in the show? Like, do you think this is too much? Should we have fewer, or is this what you would expect?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with this, it's very ambitious. One of the big things they keep talking about in this article is basically, how important it is to nail this. That basically, like that quote at the end, talking about like we're basically making a show that fills in the gap about a book that Tolkien never wrote. Basically, it's like we have to like honor the legacy of what's come in those books and what's come like in this entire franchise's history. And it's a lot. I mean, this is a lot to cover in terms of what they want to accomplish. You are condensing thousands of years into hundreds of years, which will make a big difference. So I'm hoping for the best for this. Like I said, it's a lot of stuff to do, though. Hopefully, it works out the way it needs to, though. I guess that makes sense.
Got it. Some of these are talking about like the production, things that have like kept the series from being in development, but I'm just trying to get to like the actual core story elements. Do y'all have any like specific like, Hanz, did you have an excerpt that you wanted me to highlight to jump to while I'm like skipping over the production stuff?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, no problem. Then like the actress for Galadriel was just talking about some of the delays and production issues and her experiences and stuff like that. Okay, so cool. Whatever other chaos might befall them, they have finally felt that they were on the right path. The first three episodes, which Vanity Fair has seen, suggest that they were. Okay, so we have confirmation that at least the first 3 episodes are like in the can.
I believe when the show launches in September, it's going to launch with the first 3 episodes. So
I'm really excited to just watch all 3 in a row. Is that what they mean? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. The show is a lavish, compelling mix of palace intrigue, magic, warfare, and mythology, and there are enough mysteries to power 1,000 podcasts, such as this one. Some characters will be familiar, and they will be the initial attraction as viewers watch their legendary fates unfurl, but the entirely new faces may ultimately become even more involving, since their destinies are literally unwritten, to the point RJ and Hanz were talking about. Some character art. I'm trying not to be too smitten, like, with, my fascination with these characters. But yeah,
they look great.
They look wonderful. And, I still want to have that cautious optimism. I don't want to get like overjoyed and immediately give it 10 out of 10, not having seen anything. But yeah,
I do want to ask where, the, dwarf princess's beard is.
Oh, it's you can't really see it, but it's there. Someone zoomed in, and there's actual hair like under her chin. Yeah.
Wait, the female dwarves have beards too?
Yes.
Yeah, I did not know that.
Yes.
They remember like in the
awesome.
In the Hobbit they showed what's his name? He showed a picture of his family and it showed his wife. And he's like, "Is that your son?" He's like, "No, that's my wife."
Yeah, then
hair
and the 2 towers. Gimli's talking about how people mistake dwarf women for dwarf men, and Aragorn goes, "Oh, it's the beards."
Yes.
Really quick.
That does look ballin'.
So who is Ballin for me, who is super ignorant to the lore?
Balin? He was he was in the Hobbit, a main character in the Hobbit, and Gimli's cousin. He was the one that was in the Fellowship of the Ring. Gandalf, here lies Balin, Lord of Moria.
Yeah, isn't he the Yeah. Oh yeah. I forgot about that. That's sad. That is so sad. Yeah, because they kind of teased that at the end of the Hobbit movies, how he's talking about the mines of Moria and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, I called this out in Discord earlier about this prince having the name of Durin, and there was some mention, I believe, in the article or on Twitter. I think someone criticized this as something like, "Is this name like significant because we would have not like?" Yeah, are they part of the line of Durin? Like, like, does that mean that they're kind of messing with the timeline of events that are taking place here?
No, there's lots of Durans.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's I think it's still far away from. Is it still far away from when the king lost the mountain?
Yeah.
You mean in the Hobbit?
Yeah.
This is thousands of years before that.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure. Yeah, that's crazy. There's just so much. It's like Star Wars. There's so much stuff before, like the stuff we've seen in the trilogies is like a microscope compared to what else is out there, and there's so much that they could do, and it's great, and I'm all for it.
I can talk to you for like 15 minutes about just the Balrog alone.
Yeah, no. I did bring this up in our last podcast for Lord of the Rings, where I was like, "Oh, are we going to see the Balrog? Are we going to see Khazad-dûm's digging deeper into the mines of Moria and unearthing the Balrog?" And I think, Hanz, you said no, we probably won't.
Yeah, but if these first 3 episodes are first age and is a total of these first 2 episodes. Wait, did the article say 2 or 3? That's like 3 hours long.
Yeah, I believe so.
Which is a long. It's almost the length of a Lord of the Rings movie. If they do that and make it like the first age, we would have the possibility of seeing a Balrog. But that's if that's true.
Oh, that's awesome. Really quick, thank you so much, H Barts, for donating to the show. Really appreciate it. His question is, if we get the first age, do you think we will see Morgoth's destruction and Sauron working under him? I think this is a Hanz question.
Yes, I hope. If they do first age, they better. They better show Morgoth and show how he could squish Sauron with his pinky.
You're like, isn't Mogroth? Oh my god, I can't. Isn't he huge? Like really big? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
he's giant. He's a giant.
Like, I think Amazon having the rights and doing this is like probably the best thing because they have the money to spend on it, and they don't have a lot of huge, great content on Amazon Prime Video, so they're gonna like really put all the stops in this. And I think they're gonna do really good with the special effects and all that. That's something I'm really banking on. Those images are just kind of like evidence that like they're gonna do it pretty solid, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, no, like it would make sense to see Morgoth and Sauron, right? Because they actually forged the rings together, don't they?
No, that's just Sauron. Morgoth at the end of the first age gets defeated, and Sauron runs away.
Gotcha. Okay. Initial impressions from the other characters that we get to see in the series. I'm really excited for it. I think they look great, but again, I want to like hold back my optimism.
There is one thing I wanted to mention, and this is not something that I'm particularly upset about. It's just it speaks to this. I know there's some controversy because some people are very particular with their Lord of the Rings lore to where they don't want to see persons of color in the franchise. For me,
they have to get over it.
Yeah, that's my thing too. Like for me, I don't care. Just make them well-written characters. Honestly, I don't think it's a big issue to have people be depicted for people to see themselves and other characters. Like, I'm okay with that. Just I told Zod this. It comes down to good writing. Just make them great characters. Like, exactly. I'm not sure why it's a controversy, but it is.
Never should be.
But no, it shouldn't be a controversy. But I just thought I would mention that because, like, I know the reaction to some of these images, like, well, why is this person in this show? It doesn't really make sense with the lore. I'm like, it's okay to change some things.
Well, it does.
It doesn't really make sense with the lore.
It doesn't, but it does because thousands of years ago. I mean, you don't. I mean, do you really know? Were you there thousands and thousands of years ago?
That's true too. That's true too.
Exactly. We haven't seen this stuff before, only in books, and so it's like, it's just. I don't know. It's just like Star Wars fans. Always got to find something to complain about.
In all seriousness, though, this has the aesthetic of the Peter Jackson films. It really does. It looks amazing. It looks like it's going to flow super well. And whatever they do, whatever liberties they may take for the series, we have to remember that this is based on stuff that a book that Tolkien never got to write. A lot of this stuff is appendicy stuff that they're doing and turning it into a show. So we can give it the benefit of the doubt and understand that there are going to be creative liberties, and just see where they go with it, because from the looks of it, it just looks amazing.
Agreed.
One thing I did want to call out too was I mentioned this in Discord as well. So this character, the Sylvan Elf Arondir, played by Ismael Cruz Cordova, is a character who's been created for the series. So they appear to be a woodland elf based off of like their armor, and it looks like it has an imprint of an Ent. So I'm wondering if and Hanz, thank you for telling me that the elves actually taught the Ents how to speak. So I'm wondering if we're going to see some Ent action and some
that would be hilarious.
Yeah, that would be great too. I missed the Ents a bunch, and maybe this is maybe like before there was peace between like the humanesque inhabitants of the continent and the Ents. I don't know if like maybe we'll expect some struggle there, like between like nature and the humanesque inhabitants. I don't know if that's something to expect or not.
Honestly not sure.
Like the Ents never went to war with like the elves or vice versa, or the dwarves or anything like that. Okay, for sure. Yeah, continuing on. Yeah, they're just giving some more context from The Hobbit being a prequel for Lord of the Rings.
I do want to address H-Bart's message here. I'm pretty sure it's also written that Manwë is the one that's going to take on Morgoth and defeat him, no?
Who is that character that you just mentioned?
Manwë is the Lord of the Valar.
What does that mean?
He's the head of them. The head of the Valar.
Oh, okay.
The Valar are like the gods of this.
Yeah,
the
basically.
Elemental gods, basically. Okay.
Yeah, basically, and Morgoth was a Valar who turned against them, and he was the most powerful.
Okay, for sure. Let's see. I'm just gonna like keep scrolling through to the story. Okay, so I think this was the scene we were just talking about, Galadriel being lost in the sea, and then encountering Halbrand, the new character. So yeah, it does sort of like play with the timing of the events, according to Hanz, who's familiar with the lore. But hopefully, it's not too drastic as far as like developing Galadriel.
Yeah. Right.
Go ahead.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like you're condensing thousands of years and events over very long periods of time to hundreds of years, because, you know, they're talking about, I think they mentioned in the article, like, well, if we do it the thousands of years way, it's going to be like a long documentary, and these human characters are going to keep constantly dying and getting replaced. It's like, I can see why they why they did do it that way. I just hope.
Well, do that. That's long. Do that though. That's longevity. That'll keep the series going forever. Fans will love it.
That's
honestly, yeah. If they want to, they could really milk it and take each season bit by bit and just do a long-standing franchise.
Yeah, no, I just scrolled over to this picture of the young Elrond. So yeah, no thoughts on Elrond. Zod, you want to go first?
I think he looks young.
That's what's a little confusing to me, because I don't understand how elves age. Like, because they age so slowly, but he looks so different from how he's gonna look in like a couple thousand years. You know?
Yeah. It's a long, long hard years.
And like I said, for me, I have to get used to him not being played by Hugo Weaving, so it's kind of like throwing me off.
It's a great actor that they have him as. He was in Game of Thrones as well. He played young Ned Stark when they did the flashbacks with Bran and the Three-Eyed Raven. So I mean,
he was young. He was young Ned Stark.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I resonate with Maho a lot right here.
I just looked it up to confirm it, but Legolas is 3,000 years old, and he looks real young. So take that,
That's a good point.
It's good.
Maybe it takes them, hundreds of thousands of years to Finally,
no. They
finally
just
look at their oldest.
they just need a good battle of Sauron and a lot of stressful years to look like that.
I wonder.
A good anti-aging cream. There you go.
I
I
actually
wonder.
I was gonna say I actually didn't know that Elrond was only half elf. Hans, are you able to like kind of give some context around that?
Yes. I was actually just about to mention that.
Okay.
I like how they said half elf. I think they're going to touch on how he was given a choice to be an elf or become mortal, and he would essentially just be a Numenorian. His brother chose to be a Numenorian, basically. He chose a mortal life, kind of like Arwen in the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
She had that same choice, and she chose a mortal life so that she can be with Aragorn.
That's really fascinating because it's kind of like her father. We get to see like his choice, and he doesn't, and it gives more context or more like impact to like him wanting to, like lead his daughter into like making the quote unquote right choice. Or it's the safest choice that he wants for her. So I don't know. I'm excited because this content will help me have somewhat fresh eyes watching The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Like I'll have this additional context to like kind of like make it feel like I'm watching those movies again for the first time,
Yeah, I think it's kind of the goal too. Yeah,
but it's also thousands of years prior. So
yeah, it's a different time, man. It's
Yeah.
a different time.
Totally. Okay, for sure. And let's see. Yeah, they're just talking about how the rights were secured for the adaptation, all this other stuff. Yeah, this setting here. The character they invented for the series, the elf character who had like the Ent armor, and Browyn with her forbidden love, Arondir. So this is another thing I called out in Discord too with y'all is like, the interspecies, like love connections. I know they're kind of hit and miss, and some of them kind of feel unnecessary and shoehorned in. But do y'all like feel like that's like a huge distraction, or do you not care? Some thoughts around that?
It's just part of making engaging television. That's all. So they have to build off that off of love stories too, regardless of if they're part of the lore or not. That's the way I look at it. It's an engagement thing.
Yeah. No, I see it that way too. Oh, RJ, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna mention, like, I just going back to what you were saying earlier, Ray. I think part of the goal for this, because Amazon doesn't own the film rights right now are kind of being tossed up in the air, might be picked up by someone else. I don't think it's meant to be like a continuation or a prequel to the movies, but I do feel like they want it to fit in and appeal to as many people as possible because they want this to be a gateway into that universe, right? I feel like it's going to be deep cutting stuff for the hardcore fans, but there needs to be something in here that for like someone who's never heard of Lord of the Rings or like never watched Lord or read the books can hop into the show and be just fine, right? It's kind of like, I feel like the troubling thing as well, to where I feel like that's going to be like a hard balance because like how do you make a show that appeals to newbies but it also appeals to the hardcore fans as well? Because Tolkien, such a massive universe, so much lore and so much understanding and cut deep into. It's very complex. So
Yes.
Well, Peter Jackson is on board for this series as an advisor. So it's essentially by having Peter Jackson on board, just by virtue of that, it sort of does connect it to the existing films.
Yeah, and I'm glad he's an advisor because like I mentioned this before, that the Lord of the Ring movies have a lot of differences and a lot of changes in that adaptation. So he already knows how to make those changes and where to make them and make that fit and work still because he's done it already.
I just wanted to highlight Zeno's comment really quick. He does make a good point. I do kind of want to have some context around like some nice to know, information like going into the series though, because maybe like someone who doesn't necessarily know who Elrond and Galadriel are, the impact of seeing them on the screen and understanding their motivations. It might be nice to have some of that, additional context, if not from the books, if then from like the films too. So I would say like, yeah, maybe it's not required, but Hans, like, what do you think?
This is going to get all 200 people who haven't watched the Peter Jackson movies to watch them, basically.
Let's hope. When Zeno said though that this is the beginning, it's the first age isn't the beginning. It goes a lot further back than that. A lot further back. So, I mean, I'm just pointing out that Zeno's wrong.
H. Bartz is confirming what you're saying, Hans. So yeah, I'm going to defer to the Lord of the Rings experts here in the chat and on the panel. Cool, awesome. Let's see. Yeah, no, they're talking about more of the production stuff.
I love this picture.
I love this picture too. So like I totally didn't realize Elrond was Galadriel's son-in-law. I totally thought there was going to be like some sort of like romantic, interest there, but clearly there won't be. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that'd be weird.
Yeah, no, Hans, what is super like great about this picture to you?
It just looks Lord of the Rings to me. It looks Lord of the Rings. It looks Galadriel. It looks great.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we see Elrond and Galadriel in the same setting in the Lord of the Rings, but we do in the Hobbit movies, right?
Yeah, I think we only see Galadriel and Elrond together when they're leaving at the end of the third movie.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, in Lord of the Rings.
That's the one and only time. It's for like a minute.
Totally. Yeah, no, this looks like a totally like Renaissance era painting, like just the use of like golds and lighting and stuff like that. Super dramatic. I can feel the emotion here and the tenderness between them. So yeah. Hans, just so I can wrap my head around some context for Elrond. So he has a choice to make to either be human or elven, right? And I'm wondering, is Galadriel part of that decision for him, or is she just welcoming him to being a full elf once he's made his choice in this picture, in your opinion?
I don't know. I feel like this is them maybe seeing each other after not for a long time. That's what I'm feeling. Like, it's been a few hundred years. How have you been?
A few hundred years is like a few days for elves, right?
Right. Pretty much, yeah.
Jimbo, sorry to not check in with you, but do you have any thoughts on like the character art or like some of the stills that we're seeing from the photography?
I'm loving it. Absolutely
Me too.
loving it. I'm
Same.
so excited. I'm just overall, like, regardless of what the hell is gonna happen, I'm just excited to get more Middle Earth content. Like, that's what I'm most excited for. It's because when was the last Hobbit movie released?
Like 2014.
Yeah, it was 2014, I believe. Yeah.
Too much CGI.
Yes,
yeah,
I agree.
Those.
What do you mean too much
can we go back
CGI?
to practical effects? I mean, they had a lot of it was CGI. Like he's not wrong.
Smog looked amazing. Smog looked amazing.
Oh yeah, the way they did that with Benedict was great. But I just, I'm fine with practical effects like they're doing it to Star Wars shows. Like, I'm completely fine with mixing practical with CGI to make it just look more real.
Smog was a baby dragon though. He was tiny.
He's a little bitch.
Yeah, he was little. He was a little guy.
Just to quickly jump to these two photos. I'm loving like the set design here. It just seems so like Middle Earthian, just like what I would expect. Hole. Yeah, it does look like a Hobbit hole, but I'm pretty sure this character is supposed to be a human person. But yeah, no, it's
But her ears are kind of pointy, or maybe that's just me seeing things.
And these nomadic hunters with what appear to be antlers on their backs. I don't know if this is a creature you're familiar with, Hans, that they could have taken these from.
Nah.
Okay, no problem. Saves some mystery for the show.
Yeah, I have a prediction. It's a giant moose.
And that's what I was thinking.
I know one of the Elven Kings in the Hobbit movies rode a moose, so
Yeah,
I was
he
wondering
did.
if this is from
It's
one
a
of those
callback
creatures.
to that. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
maybe.
Cool. Just quickly scrolling through. We're almost at an hour. The driving question behind the production: can we come up with the novel Tolkien never wrote and do it as the mega event series that could only happen now? Yeah, no, I think we did cover that a little bit because this is from earlier in the article that there's a lot of unnamed inhabitants of the continent, to Hans's point, that don't get their stories told. So this series will tell some of their stories. Let's see. In case I'm skipping over any significant parts of the article, Hans, just let me know and I'll backtrack. Here is Halbrand, the new character who encounters Galadriel during the first 3 episodes. We chatted about him. And let's see. Speaking of Sauron, the villain's presence is a major factor throughout the Second Age, culminating in his resurrection as a tyrant. As the show begins, there are only hints of the danger to come. Some see them clearly, others don't necessarily want to. So yeah, no, it seems like my initial expectation was that it would only focus on the first age, but based off of our conversation and what this article is sharing with us, it'll probably happen across multiple ages. Or am I misreading that? It sounds about right. Like multiple ages is probably what we would expect. Okay.
Yeah, most likely, yeah.
Okay, for sure. And let's see. I think that's all of it right now. Yeah, any I'll go ahead and go around for closing thoughts on our discussion. This will not be the last Lord of the Rings discussion. We will have more, but this is such a major news day. We had to have it right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, RJ, any closing thoughts on our discussion and anything you're excited for?
The article piqued my interest a lot. It was cool to get some details on what characters are in this, what the show is gonna what their ideas are towards what they want this first season to be, getting a better glimpse at what to expect. Really, for me, all I need right now is the trailer, and we are 2 days away from that. So give me the trailer.
We'll have to have another last minute Lord of the Rings session for sure to react to that trailer. But yeah, Jimbo, any last closing thoughts on our discussion?
Pretty much the same thing as RJ. I'm just really excited for this show, and I am really intrigued in seeing what type of story they're gonna tell and the way they're gonna do it, because we kind of already have a feeling what they're gonna do, but not exactly. And I'm just really hyped for the trailer. I wonder if it's gonna be a teaser. Have they already confirmed it's gonna be a full-on trailer, not just a teaser?
I have no clue. Does anyone else know if it's going to be a full trailer or just a teaser during the Super Bowl or the big sports game?
If I were to guess, it'll probably be a 30-second TV spot saying "Go watch the full trailer online,"
which I will happily do.
It'll probably be something like that, but just saying the trailer is coming out soon. It'll give us a quick glimpse. It'll show a couple quick sequence of shots showing a bunch of characters, some settings, and maybe a little bit of what's gonna happen, maybe a little combat, and then it's gonna say full trailer online this day.
For sure. And Zod, any closing thoughts on our discussion?
I'm super excited for this show, and I'm super excited for the trailer. And this was an awesome discussion. So thank you for having us all. I love the fact that we can talk about this, and it was nice to see some screenshots and some character designs. I mean, what's not to like if you're a fan at all of Lord of the Rings right now? It's hard not to get caught up in it and get super excited for what they're going to do. So I'm looking forward to it.
Totally. And last but not least, Hanz, Man of Rohan, what do you have to say?
Well, first I'll answer H-Bart's questions. That question. I know about the Blue Wizards, and I know they went, I think, south and east and basically disappeared. Never heard of again. But I'm excited for the show. I think it has a lot of potential, and I just want to say, to remind everybody who's a hardcore fan like me and wishes they would do things by the book. Exactly. just remember there's a lot of other fanfic of Lord of the Rings and other content, like the video games, all pure fanfic are amazing. I say take the show for what it is, accept it, and be happy that we're getting at least parts of Tolkien's world on the screen. And
Amen.
There's no reason to hate on it. I'm happy we're getting more Middle Earth.
Just really quick, to Zeno's concern about the Hobbits being added. I didn't have much to report on since I didn't see the exact article. But Hanz, are you, or anyone on the panel, are y'all familiar with the Hobbits being added here, or is it just sort of like it's? I haven't seen anything like in detail about it yet.
I don't even know if the Hobbits exist at this point. That maybe H-Barts knows,
they don't
but I don't think they exist yet.
They don't exist at this early on. No.
Yeah, I don't even think they're creatures yet. And if they are, they're hidden away somewhere.
If they are, they're scattered, and they might not even be anywhere near Middle Earth yet.
Yeah,
there would be no reason to follow any storyline with it.
For sure. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something. But yeah, I am trying not to be too excited and just, hype up, this show, like without some, critical thought. So I appreciate folks like y'all being on this panel to just sort of like, leverage expectations, but still share in my enthusiasm and optimism for the series. I like nothing but love and support for, new content in the, in Tolkien's world, like that we're all like really big fans of. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to talking about it more with everyone and sharing our love of the series as we continue to, see more of it and when it eventually comes out. But yeah, this has been an episode of the Glimmercast, episode 8. Thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see y'all later. Bye.
Bye everybody.